Hi everybody, this is Angelo Quinones and you reach Ministries. Now we started a new verse, okay, that Jehovah's Witnesses like to use to actually dethrone, okay, no pun intended, because the word throne is here, Christ out of his deity, true deity, okay, and you see here that someone, okay, is addressed as, "Oh God," and we see that this someone, okay, is Jesus himself, the Son of God. The accusative case construction of huion appears, okay, in Hebrews 1:8, very clearly so. Tan huion appears, so he's the subject of the address. We'll get into that when we get into the Greek of this. But we looked at the English and, of both Psalm 45, verse 6 and Hebrews 1:8. And we looked at other texts, and we saw that actually, okay, "Oh God" is in the text of Psalm 45, verse 6. And as a matter of fact, you see the construction, okay, ha theos in the Greek Septuagint. Remember, the Greek Septuagint is a Greek translation of the Jewish scriptures. Okay, Septuagint comes from the Latin word Septuaginta, which means 70. And so you see, even in the Psalms, okay, that ha theos, according to the Greek, okay, Septuagint is used 63 times as "Oh God," meaning ha theos is used, okay, as a vocative 63 times. That's more than one out of that's one out of every 3 Psalms. It has ha theos. You understand? Even more than that, it has ha theos as vocative. As a matter of fact, when you turn to the New Testament, you see in Murray J. Harris's book, Jesus is God. You understand what I'm saying? I believe on page 30 that the vocative ha theos is used like 12 times. Okay, 1 in Mark, and 2 in Hebrews, and all of that delicious stuff. We're gonna look at all those statistics. You understand? Now, praise God. We're getting into the Hebrew, how to read the Hebrew. Okay, now Hebrew has consonants. Now, actually, this is called Hebrew. It's not really Hebrew. Everybody who knows Hebrew knows this isn't Hebrew. This is Babylonian script. Now, Paleo Hebrew, man, that's Hebrew. Okay, that was before this stuff. And then the pictographs were before that. You understand? Pictures and stuff like that. Like, hand, behold, nail, behold. Like the Tetragrammaton has a yod, and it means hand. And then, hey, according to the pictographs, it's like somebody like shouting, almost like, "Hey, me, hey, you," waving his hands, like "Behold," nail, okay, meaning vav or wow, behold. And I said in one of my Tetragrammaton studies, and I thank everybody out there for looking at the first Tetragrammaton study that I have, which has 11,000 views. That's incredible. I mean, that you guys will look at it 11,000 times. I mean, praise God for that. But the gospel is in there in the Tetragrammaton. Yod, hey, vav, or wow, hey. Hand, behold, nail, behold. Even the message of the gospel is in the Tetragrammaton. You understand what I'm saying? So actually, it's in the third person. The Tetragrammaton is in third person form of Haya, by the way. Echech is actually the first person form of Haya. But we'll get into that, when we talk about the Tetragrammaton in another session. But over here, we saw that kis achah actually means your throne. Okay, your throne. Kis ach or acha. Okay, and that's spelled out Kof, Samech, and then Aleph, and then final Kof. And we saw that Kof is a K in Hebrew. It's underneath the 8. You can't miss it. Up, the upper right-hand corner. And it looks like a C, but it's really a K in, Hebrew. Okay? And it has a hardening dogish in the middle and the belly of it. So it's just like that, okay? And then it has an I class underneath it. What's an I class underneath it? Well, an I class is just a little tiny dot, and that's it's an I. That's all. It's just don't make Hebrew so hard. It's not, like I said before. So kit, right? And then, the next letter is a samech. It's an S in Hebrew. It looks like an S too, so it's not that hard. It's right underneath the 6 and 3,678. You understand what I'm saying? And it's really looking sort of like the other way than the Greek S, sigma. So the Greeks copied from this, obviously, right? So, and then you have a schwa underneath the S, if you will, the samech. And then that's a schwa, and that's just telling you, well, this is one syllable. Okay? Okay, kiss. You understand what I'm saying? It's right there. K-I-S, as a matter of fact. And then the next letter is, remember, you read Hebrew from right to left, so the third letter is to the left of the samech, okay? It's not to the right of it. It's to the left, and it's Aleph. And we saw that that's the symbol for Sinaiticus, or Sinaiticus, or Sinaiticus. I don't care how you pronounce it. Manuscript 01, and that's ancient, a Greek manuscript, you understand, of the New Testament. One of the best, one of 4 best New Testament Greek manuscripts. The others being, Vaticanus and Alexandrinus. Now this has a Hatef
from 91720011151.
Okay, but I can't get that now. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Let's just get rid of that, guys. Okay. How can I get rid of this? Let me see. Okay, wait for a second, guys. Okay. Now, let's just turn the phone this way, and let's just see where we were at. I should have put actually airplane mode, but I didn't. Sorry about that, guys. So, okay, wait for a second. Let me just press this button right there, and I should be back. Let me just press this button, and I should be back. Oh, can you make it up? No, you can't. All right, so now I forgot what completely what I was saying. Okay, just completely. But anyway, Aleph. Okay, so Aleph, you have underneath the silent letter Aleph. There's 2 silent letters in Hebrew. Aleph, this symbol, which looks like an X. It's not, but it looks like an X. And you have Ayin, which is a peculiar letter. It can be silent, okay? Not always, but it can be. And so this is silent, though. And so it is the first letter in the word Elohim. We're going to look at that, tagged by the Strong's number, index 430. And so underneath this Aleph, okay, spelled out A-L-E-F, that's just the name of a letter. Underneath it is a Hatef Pathach. Now, what's that? Well, Hatef is just the little 2 dots. Okay, that's called Hatef. This is called Hatef Pathach because the Pathach, the little dash is actually called Pathach. Okay, in biblical Hebrew. Okay, it's just a hyphen. It's just like a minus sign. Like a minus sign. 10 minus 1 equal 8. So I mean, it's just like it looks like that, but it's an A class. That dash in Hebrew is an A class, like in the word hat in biblical Hebrew. Anyway, there's no distinction between this A class of Pathach and the Kametz in modern Hebrew. Okay, so it's no different. It's just as A like in father, all across the board. So just pronounce that like A like in hat, and you'll be all right. And then after that, it's a final cough. Now the first letter is cough, and the last letter is cough, but they look different. Well, what's the deal? Well, in Hebrew, you have like 5 letters that are that come in different forms. Okay, it's almost like the Greek sigma and final sigma, that the final sigma can only be the last letter in a word, like theos. That S can only be the last letter of a Greek, word, like theos, anthropos, and all that other stuff, and hadas, all that stuff, even though hadas is feminine. But in Hebrew, you have sophete letters. You have final letters also. So the cough is in the beginning of this word. Okay, that's different. There's a different form from the final cough or cough sophete. It's a sophete in Hebrew means final. Well, it's different because it's a different form of the same letter. But that different form, when it's the sophete version, the final version of the letter, can only be the last letter of the word. That's just all there is to it. Okay? Now, in the belly of it, you have a kametz. You have like a T-looking thingy, right? Okay. And, that's not a T, that's an A. Now remember, we already saw an A in this thing. We saw an I. So we saw an I underneath the kaf, right? The hirek, that's an I. One dot is an I in Hebrew, underneath a consonant. And we saw that a dash is an A, is another vowel, okay? So, in Hebrew, you have dashes and dots being vowels. One dot is an I underneath a letter, okay? In the word Elohim, the O is above a Hebrew letter, right beside it, kind of like, because of, so that's an O class. We'll get into that in a second. And so the A class, okay, vowels come in two forms. Something that looks like a T, that would be A, and it could be an O too, but and the dash, that could be an A. So that's the deal. Now, what's the spelling underneath it? Well, you got kis, a, ka, or acha, right? So kis, a, cha. Okay, so that's just it. Well, anyway, you're thrown. Now you may be asking, because there's always someone that asks, like, everything in a class, right? So what's that? Okay, so you gave me the final cough letter and the comments vowel in the belly of the letter itself. So, I mean, what's that? What's that under, over the U in Hebrew? What's that? Well, that's an accent marker. That's an accent marker. Okay, that's what it is. Now, let's get to Oh God. Now, in Oh God, you have just Elohim. Okay, spelled out, Aleph, Lamed, Hey, Yod, Mem. Final Mem, by the way. Because a M in Hebrew has two separate structures, two forms. One M could go anywhere except for the last part of a word, like Moshe. You have the M there, right? But there's an M that can. There's a form of the M, of the Hebrew mem, of the M, that can only be the last letter of a Hebrew word and never anywhere else. Okay, like in the word Susim, which means horses. Cherubim, which means that class of angel, but in the plural. Seraphim, that class of angel, fire, and that's in the plural. Panim, which can mean faces or face or persons, tagged by 6440. You understand? So this M can only be the last letter of a Hebrew word. Elohim. Oh God, it says over here. Well, there's a little. If you see Aleph, okay, the Aleph has several things underneath it. First of all, there's an accent marker underneath the Aleph. Okay, that's number one. Number two, you have Segol or Hatef Segol. What's that? Well, let's start with Segol. Segol is an upside down triangle, but it's a set of dots. It typifies a cluster of grapes. That's why you have a whole bunch of dots. You see, and so but you have three dots. It's a form of an upside down triangle. Okay, and so when you see that in Hebrew, just pronounce it the E. That's an E class. Just pronounce it E like in Ector, or like in set or bet, or pet. You understand? So that's just a deal. So you see in Hebrew, it clearly says, "Oh God." Now, like in the Greek, okay, I mean, it doesn't have the verb is here, and in the Greek New Testament text, Hebrews 1:8, it doesn't have the word is over there either. Okay, or either. I don't care how you say it. And it says the word for and ever, you have the vav here. That's an and. An and is a V or a W with an A class underneath it. So it's va or wa. That's how you say and in Hebrew, even in modern Hebrew. When you say, and with this I close, when you say I have a brother and a sister, is actually yeshli for I have. A brother is ach, yeshli ach, and then va, yeshli achot. And as and is vav, and then yeshli, I have achot is sister. This is Angelo Quinones giving the glory to the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. That means that all will rise. Thank you.